pat yourself on the back because you are right here, right now, for a reason. Welcome to the On Purpose podcast, where together we will empower ourselves and others to live lives with more passion and purpose. How you doing this evening, Jared?
I'm fantastic, coming to you live from Atlanta, my man. How are you doing?
ATL, where the players play.
I know, man. Outcast. That's a good reference. I didn't know you had any Outcast in you.
Oh, come on, man. You think I'm younger than I am. That's
Yeah.
good, man. You got you did a podcast today with
CJ Evolution. Yeah,
Nice.
it's one of the top law enforcement podcasts out there. So we crushed that this afternoon, planning for some training that we're going to be putting on in February. So yeah, man, it's cool. And one of the things I'd like to just share on that is that's a connection that came about through social media.
Nice.
Yeah, like
LinkedIn?
Exactly. We became friends there. We had coffee. I went on his podcast. The three of us kind of combined forces. Carrie Wooten, she's a high-level business entrepreneur out here. And the three of us just kind of decided to put something together. So here we are.
Nice, man. Looks like a power team. And excuse me, I'm trying to chomp down some rice and salmon before some training tonight, not our normal schedule. So we are recording with some in a different environment, both of us in different environments, but looking forward to it to start 2020 off on a good foot. And I had some good reflections with our purposeful practice last week with the Hack Your Habits episode. I wanted to share those real quick before we jump in.
That.
And I know I was telling you in the On Purpose community that I was like, you know what, thinking about a full year, not drinking, and just kind of some reflections around that. So I wanted to share. Obviously, with the upcoming fight, going to be really easy and not to drink until January 25th. But I wanted to start out with what for me is a more attainable goal and still a stretch for something I've done of 3 months completely no alcohol, and see how I feel with that since the last run was 2 months. Really stay clear, stay focused on everything that we're doing. And I'm looking forward to that, as well as I think I had shared before too, one of the new goals is to play piano. Shout out to my mother booking me 12 piano lessons for Christmas. So that was pretty cool. I'm going to save some cash on that because those can be pricey. And then accountability, starting up a new accountability group. I have that spreadsheet that I've showed you. And, you know, we may have to share with some of our On Purpose members that want to email us and are interested in that spreadsheet. But trying out a new thing. I used to do friends that are a little bit more distant, but for the month of January, I'm actually going to do it with my girlfriend Courtney, and kind of thought sometimes we tend to do important tasks with people who aren't as close to us because we already spend a lot of time around them. But I thought that if we can get a momentum going, then maybe she can take to her circles and us kind of break away from there. So that's pretty exciting, and looking forward to hacking those habits.
I think that's interesting you say that, because I was thinking that the other night too. Like Andrea and I sit down and we do our goal list and kind of lay out roadmaps. And I was thinking how many people will look to those further away for accountability than those that are right close to them. And I even started thinking, like, how much more tolerance do you have for a stranger sometimes than you do for your loved ones or those close, because you're around them all the time. And I think we'll have to talk about that on another episode, but it was interesting. I like you having somebody close to you be part of that process. I think it just adds another layer to a relationship.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes it just depends on what your family or your closest ones are like, right? Not everyone's got the Jared Andrea dynamic. For some people, you know, both of us couldn't count on our dads being an accountability partner, you know, some real close. So it just depends, but yeah, definitely want to dive deeper into that in a future episode. Really just depends on that relationship dynamic. But what about you? Did you have any good takeaways from Hack Your Habits?
Yeah, man, I gotta get back on my fitness grind. I kind of enjoyed the holidays too much. And I could definitely tell I gotta get back working out, man, just hanging out with Trey and being around him. He's so physically beastie right now. I got to keep up with the young lion. I'm not ready to turn over the house to the young lion yet.
The young lion, man. Yeah, it's it's what life is about, just some balance, right? I think we all get a little bit off track for the holidays, a little easy, but it's important to get back very quickly. So
Yeah,
glad
so
you were back on the ball.
I'm gotta get after it. I'm not ready to get old, and to me, I think age catches up to you when you start becoming inactive or less physical. So that's kind of one of the ways I've been able to put it off, and I gotta keep after it.
Definitely, definitely. Well, speaking of getting after it, we better do so now and not waste any time, because
The
there is
world's
some
ending.
potential for the world to end.
It's ending.
Nuclear warfare. So World War III. We wanted to discuss some of that today with the community. What are your takes, Jared? I know with you being in, having a career in the police force and
Right.
in military affiliation, what is your take on what's the biggest thing in media right now, and that's potential of world war?
Man, I struggle with that, because I can think of so many times the world was supposed to end in my lifetime, and this bad stuff was going to happen, and that bad, and for the majority of it, none of it happened. And to me, I struggle with it because it seems like it's another divisive topic and another way to just keep people from actually achieving what they want. And it's a distraction for many of us. We had these goals coming into the new year. We wanted to achieve this, we wanted to do that. Now all of a sudden, you know, this takes place in the Middle East, and I think a lot of people lose focus and they spend so much energy and time debating this, and my side's right and your side's right, that they forget what they're supposed to be working on. So, for me, is it something to pay attention to? Sure, it's a world event. It has potential impact around the world, but not to the point it distracts me from what I'm supposed to be doing, and not to the point that I lose hope in what I'm trying to achieve or I lose focus on it. And I think that's where a lot of people struggle. Just
Yeah.
even being in the airport today, flying to Atlanta, like half the people around me were like talking about this and debating, and I'm just like, man, I don't know. For me, like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Like I'm supposed to be in Atlanta, producing things to move my family and my life forward, um, regardless of what people think about that issue going on right away. And I think too many people stop doing what they're doing and get distracted.
Yeah, definitely easy to get distracted with things in the media, especially when it's talking about war. So let me ask you this, Jared. Let's say we get confirmation World War III is starting tomorrow, or better yet, a nuke just launched to us right now, hitting Colorado, whatever. Would you say that you are living your life? Are you doing what you would be doing today as if you were going to die tomorrow?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that was the whole nexus for the changes I made in 2019, man, was to be able to have this life. The only thing different tonight was I'd be having my family out here on this trip with me. They're all back in Colorado because they got their things. Trey's got wrapping up his wrestling season, so he's got to grind away. Andrew's taking care of the house. Tay's getting ready to go back to school. Triana's going to school. Um, but I think we got to teach our kids perseverance. You know what I mean? Like I don't want them every time something crazy happens around the world for their reaction to be to stop progressing, to stop doing what they're supposed to be doing, and panic and worry. Like, yeah, pay attention to it, but continue to move forward. Like you got to go. It's no different. Everybody's life is going to have little smaller microcosmic events like this. And if every time something bad happens to you or around you or to somebody it derails all your plans, you're never going to get shit done. So, I mean, to me, this is my perfect life. I'm traveling, I'm collaborating with high level people. Me and you are able to reach out to our community, even though we're miles away from each other right now. Like, this is exactly what I want to be doing. What about you?
That's awesome, man. I mean, I got to say, of course, I would change I would change some things a little bit, call the family, try to evacuate, do all these
Yeah,
crazy things. But I think for the most part, I'm taking action in the direction that I want to be moving in. And there's always coulda, shoulda, woulda, and we always have these dreams, and
yeah,
especially today, we're so fortunate to have the entire world at our fingertips. I mean, we can be anything. For me, this is it's a really good reminder, like this reflection. I think it's always good to be reminded that we are mortal and that we could die
yeah,
tomorrow. We could die in the next hour, car
yeah,
accident, we'll walk, whatever. And it's a really good reminder. But I think, like you said too, I tend to not get caught up in too much national news coverage, just because I know that I don't have much influence. It's not something that I can control. So for me, when there are things that are out of my control, I realize that putting too much energy and time into things that I cannot control causes me the most pain and
yeah,
uneasiness,
yeah,
to where it's so much energy, because it just circulates in this thing that won't have really any effect or impact of, yeah, I can talk about Trump and World War III and Iran all day, but at the end of the day, at this stage in my life, I can't really do anything about it. So for me, and for most scenarios where I'm not in control, I can acknowledge what the worst case scenario would be, right? Like in this case, all right, if they, if we go all out world war, worst case, we get nuked and I die, right? And everybody dies. Absolute worst case scenario. Am I doing everything in my life that I want to be doing? I think so. And hey, I think there's things that I can be doing with more urgency, with more passion, with more presence. So obviously war, I don't believe in war. You got to protect yourself. I wish there were other ways. It's unfortunate that we're such an advanced civilization and society that war is still an option for us. But the reality is that there is that potential. And for me, I just take it as a really good reminder, man, of like, hey, we could die in multiple ways, and now one of them is war. So acknowledge that, but keep staying the course, and just use that as a positive reminder to check yourself and be like, am I doing what I'm doing, what I want to be doing? Because I'm going to die. We're all going to die.
yeah. And I think, interestingly enough, we've technically been at war since 2001. It's the longest war in the history of the United States, right? Because that's when September 11th happened. We went to war in Afghanistan shortly after that. So we've been at war this whole time. So for a
Hmm.
lot of people, nothing's changed. Like for our military folks, nothing's changed. They're on higher alerts. They're going to deploy whatever. Um, but I think the bigger thing for us, for people trying to live our lives, is man, like, yeah, bad stuff happens. That's why you need to know what it is you're working towards, what it is you're trying to get to, so that when all these distractions come up, you just don't get completely derailed. You continue to make progress, continue to work forward, um, because you don't control all that. And so I don't spend a ton of time or energy thinking about it. I mean, I pay attention just because, like you said, some of my background was in that area, but you got to take action in order to
Right.
move forward. And so if something's paralyzing my action and I'm not doing my family any good, I'm not doing myself any good, I'm not doing my partners any good. So, yeah, we're all going to die at some point anyhow. So like
Right.
I can't freak out every time I might die. You know what I mean? Like you wake up today, you might die. You
Yeah.
go to bed
Yeah.
tonight, you might not wake up. So I just want people to quit with the reasons why they're not getting stuff done, and this could just be another one added to the list, and get after it, man. Like know what the hell you're wanting to do, know what your goals and stuff are, and then get working towards it, and quit being distracted by everything that pops up, because as soon as this is figured out, something else is going to come up. You got an election coming up in this fall, I think, and that's going to be a huge divisive thing. You got all these people that love Trump. You got all these people that hate Trump. Everybody's going to want to sit and argue with each other. And guess what? I'm going to slide right in the middle, keep on working, run right by them, and be use that distraction to allow myself to move forward. You know,
Love
'cause,
it.
yeah, I mean,
I, I, I love it. So I think we have similar mindsets on this, but I'm curious to know, obviously current events, things going on in national news do impact our lives, even if it's not something that you're watching,
yeah.
someone that you're working with. People bring it up. Politics are always a very popular conversation, or even aside from politics, just things that are national. What do you do, Jared? Like how do current events shape your thoughts, your emotions, your actions? Do you come across a lot of people that are constantly discussing them? How do they impact you?
Yeah, I think, I'm fortunate enough in my circles and where I'm at in my life that most people know I'm not going to sit and discuss politics with them. So it doesn't come up to me a ton. I'll read the headlines or just glance at the headlines in the morning just to see if there's something I'm interested in. But then I'm pretty selective in where I get my information from. I think that's something to remember is everybody in the media is selling something, whether it's their point of view or another product that they want you to see it their way. So I'm always a little skeptical of, what do I believe? And I think that's kind of what you were alluding to earlier when you said you don't speak a lot about politics. You don't speak a lot about it because, quite honestly, neither of us, we don't have all the information. And the last thing I want to do is speak to something that I know nothing about, or that I know I got half the story and now I'm running around emotional on half the story when I don't know the whole story. And you know, I mean, that to me, that's kind of what happens with the whole media circus nowadays is you got people that refuse to listen to somebody else's opinion, even though they only have half the information. And it just it doesn't put me mentally in a good spot. So I don't surround myself with a lot of political content. I don't surround myself with a lot of political arguments, because at the end of the day, Donald Trump, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, but none of them know who I am. They don't know who my family is. They don't know what's important to me. They don't care. Like, they have a job to do. My job is to provide for my family and to live my life to the best I can. And if I'm spending all this time talking and debating this other stuff, I'm not on my task. I'm not doing the things I'm supposed to be doing.
So what's your take on staying informed? And people argue that you need to be informed. This affects your community. You need to vote on this and vote on that.
Yeah.
What do you think about people who respond in that way when they're like, why don't you watch the news?
I ask them, as okay, how much time did you spend watching the news? Let me tell you what I was doing during that time. You know what I mean? Because time is my
Yeah.
biggest commodity. So you literally, okay, so great, you watch 2 hours of news and you feel like you know all you need to know about this. What did that do for your family? Did it propel you forward? Are you any better off? Like, in that 2 hours, I did this. And it's just an exchange of my time, and as we've talked before, time is our most valuable commodity. And to me,
Hmm.
I can't think of any worse way to spend part of my precious 24 hours than watching somebody else's opinion on the news, knowing they're not giving me the full story. Like I know it. Why would I continue to be tricked by that?
Right.
And there's so many places you can get information to stay educated. We talked earlier. I have a connection on LinkedIn that was a CIA guy for 30 years. He's a really good writer. I kind of like his views on things. So I'll look at what he puts out and I'll read that and I'll think, okay, I wonder, this seems logical to me. But I don't have to just be fed somebody else's information. Like, I can actually go out and check it. And I think, that applies for many of us in our lives. Like, just because somebody says you can't do something doesn't mean it's a fact. Just because somebody says, oh, that's going to be hard, doesn't mean it's true. But we tend to just take everything that everybody else says as gospel, and we don't listen to what we say. Like, why doesn't our opinion carry as much weight as we give everybody else's? And that's, like, I'm the most important person to me because I know what I think matters the most. What I think, what I do is what propels my family forward. So if I'm spending all this time listening to everybody else's opinions, then it's not helping my family, so I don't have time for it.
Yeah. I understand your take. I think a lot of people, especially right now, may disagree, but I
Cool
really
with
like
it.
those views that you have.
And it's fine. They can disagree. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'll be wrong down the road. But right now, um, sitting idly by just processing information is not action. And I have to be in action mode to achieve what I'm trying to achieve. What I'm trying to achieve, what we're trying to achieve, the communities we're trying to build will not be built by us sitting consuming other people's opinions and not producing something.
Right. Yeah. And we live in an amazing time, like you said, where there are people, podcasts, other publications, aside from national news, that we can go and get our information from.
Right.
Because I think one of the best products that national news sells is anxiety.
Oh my
And
gosh, dude.
I'm not a customer
Dude,
of
let me
anxiety.
that's such a funny point you say that because when we were in Montana for Christmas, my mom and Tom watch a ton of TV. And I found it ironic that when you watch the news, because they would have the news on for a half hour, so like I'd be cooking or whatever, and I could hear it. The majority of the commercials are for medications, depression, anxiousness, right? And I'm like, no wonder they think they need the medicine. You just told them about murder, mayhem, and the world's ending for 10 minutes, and
Of
now you're selling
course.
them pills. Like there
And
was a
guess
yeah,
who's one of the biggest lobbying interest groups in Washington D.C.? It's
for
Big
sure.
Pharma.
Dude,
It's big
huge.
pharmaceutical companies that have these huge lobbyists in D.C. that get certain things passed, and the media as well,
Right.
obviously funding. Yeah, that's hilarious, man. My cousin got married recently when I was in Indianapolis. Another one of my cousins there, she's a pharmacist. Just graduated, doing her rotations or clinicals, whatever they're called for a pharmacist. And she was saying, I was asking her, so Lena, tell me what you're doing, what you've learned, what are some medicines that a lot of people are prescribed to, like what he's saying. She's like, I had no idea that so many people are prescribed to some sort of antidepressant or some sort of anxiety relief. She said it's honestly kind of scary how many people have stuff like that. And you're absolutely right. I mean, we push that. Big pharma is an industry. I think that one of the best sellers of the news, of national news, is anxiety. Nobody
Mhm.
wants to read the story on how our amazing community came together and fed the homeless. Nobody cares. Unfortunately, that doesn't make headlines the way that we've conditioned our news. It's like World War III, everyone's gonna die. Oh shit, let me watch this.
Yeah.
Let me get anxious.
And then we
What?
subconsciously sell you on feeling anxious, take this pill. And then
Yep.
you listen to the side effects. You're like, why would I ever take that?
Mm,
But yet people do it.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think and I know that's kind of like a microcosm. I'm not bad. Like the media has its place, whatever. But I just think people need to filter that, and that's the same thing in your life. Like you got people around you that are selling you on all the things you can't do. They're selling you on all the things that are impossible. Like filter that. Like how much
Mm-hmm.
weight how you are in charge of how much weight you give their opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And man, life to me is short, man. And I'm seeing that more and more as I've gotten older. And I don't have a ton of time to waste. So watching the news, getting all hysterical about everything every other day is just not. It doesn't help me. It doesn't make me feel good, and it doesn't provide for my family.
Yeah. Agreed, man. I'm in a similar boat, and I think our community should go back and listen to the media episode if you haven't already, if you want to get a little deeper into this topic. But one thing that we've covered, and this is a pretty popular model that just got resurfaced with one of my business coaches, is that thoughts create emotions,
Yeah,
emotions influence action, and then consistent action create behaviors,
yeah,
right? So if we have these thoughts, we're watching these, we're anxious, then whatever action or emotions, it makes us feel anxious. Then we take actions like we're arguing with people about, what Trump did, whatever. We're taking antidepressants, we're having these negative actions, and then it becomes negative. What are the behaviors? All these side effects that you're seeing. So I think it's really important to just really, like we talk in the media episode, monitor how you feel, what thoughts come up when you're consuming media, because that's going to influence how you feel, and how you feel is going to influence what you do. If you feel like
yeah.
shit, if you feel anxious and like shit, it's going to be really hard to be like, let me go tackle my goals when I feel like the world's going to end and I'm so anxious and sad, right? That does not help the cause. So
Yeah, nah, man, and it's just not a fun way to live. You
yeah,
know, like I think we all know that one person that's like so political, and whether it's your friend or your family, but they're always like extremely one end of politics or the other. And like every time you're around them, you're like, oh my God, they're talking about this again. Like, I don't want to hear this. I don't want to enjoy being around you. And like, it just doesn't feel good, you know? And maybe that's a weird thing to say. Like, but I want to do things that feel good to me, that make me feel like, that was fulfilling. And unfortunately, for many people, that's not what they're being sold, and that's not what they're consuming.
yeah. Agreed, man. Couldn't have said it better. Couldn't have said it better. I hope that our community can find a way to, what's the word I'm looking for? Transmute some of this energy. I know that it's a lot of national buzz, so hopefully we can transmute this energy into
Is that
some
a
positive,
word, dude?
productive stuff. Oh yeah, it's a word.
Transmute?
Transmute. Yeah,
Huh.
look it up.
I'm about to Google that one.
You're making me second guess myself over here. I'm like, I'm pretty damn sure that's
It's
transmute,
not. Let's
change.
make it a word.
Yeah, transmute, change in form, nature, or substance.
Ooh,
Yes.
nice.
So some working on that
Hey,
vocab,
man, I
for
like a little
2020.
vocab. I love adding words to my vocabulary.
Yeah, transmute's good. Well, what do you think? Should we get our community some purposeful practice for the week?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, and let's make sure that we're not getting distracted by everything that comes up from our path and our purpose and our goals. And you know, man, if life is short and it's going to end tomorrow, we might as well be doing the shit we love, doing the stuff we enjoy.
Amen. Amen to that. So we'll kick it off with some purposeful practice. Part one is reflect on whether or not you're living your life the same way that you would if you were dying tomorrow.
Yeah, I
Why or
like
why
that.
not? Part two, how do current events shape your daily thoughts, emotions, and actions? This is huge because a lot of us don't really take note of that. We'll go through the motions and not even realize that we're purchasing, for lack of a better word, all this anxiety by watching. We're taking on all these thoughts and emotions from really consuming lots of media. So be aware of that, reflect on that, and then last and most importantly, email your practice to us at onpurpose.official@gmail.com, and we will definitely get back to you right away.
Yeah, and I think that's a great term you use there, purchasing, because if you trade your time for somebody's information, it's a purchase.
Mm,
Right? Like we
hmm
think of money purchases, but your time is your greatest asset. So if you're giving it away, you're purchasing. Am I
Nice.
purchasing hate and hysteria and the world's ending? So I might as well not achieve anything because it's going to end. Or am I purchasing, hey, let's believe in each other. Let's move forward and let's, be aware and continue to work towards our goals. So you're absolutely right, Ali. You're purchasing something. What are you buying?
Amen. Thank you for validating that piece of vocabulary. Time
That was
as
a
the
good one,
as the
man.
transaction. That's solid. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you, Ali. It's always fun to spend time with you. I'm looking forward to getting back to the fort and trying out some of our new tech gear that we just recently purchased for the community.
Yeah. Yeah, it's looking good. So I'm looking forward to you getting back as well. Appreciate you
Yeah.
too.
And community, remember, life is far too short to live any other way than on purpose. So we appreciate you being here, and we'll see you next week.